For me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Cursed be the ground for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are. And to the dust we shall return.
I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
All right, you ashy blokes. Okay, back in the house. Um, I hadn't, I wasn't feeling about anything about doing a show today because I really, was on empty because I did like 6 hours last night on my Patreon, so I was kind of running on empty. But sometimes the universe sends you stuff, right? So um, I got like three or four emails that sent me some stuff about the image of black males, black men in America. Um, so that's what we're going to do today. That's why I named it the myth of the evil black male, which Tommy Curry said has been around since the 1850s, right after right after emancipation, right before emancipation, really. Um, when the feminist movement actually really started in the 1850s, when they were trying to convince black women to abandon black men because they beat you and they're evil and they did horrible things to you, so you should align yourself with black women and be underneath white women and white men for protection. So this is not a new thing. This is almost like 200 years old about the evil black male and how they abuse their women and children. So, but anyway, let's uh let's get busy. Okay. Turtle Bitcoin, I got one thing to say to you, bruh. Wagner. He's batting first. Shannon's batting second. Martin getting ready to drive in some runs. Okay. As the Gundam playing batting cleanup. Okay. Dave Tao said, please debunk this myth. We'll try. Number 5, let's go. Okay. Gripted Wolf, what's happening? Dr. Thunder, salute. Good show yesterday, man. I was listening to some of the jazz. Okay, classic. Good show. Prince, what's going on? You can put your link to your to the session, man, in the chat, so people can actually hear. I should have actually played some of it, but I might do that tomorrow. Luther, what's going on? Lavaris, what's going on? My Waffle House King. Like the video on my steady grind. Okay, all right. PM, what's happening? Beatero, what's happening? Pharaoh, keep them wheels turning. There's Toya with my apple. The B, the B, the G, the S. I heard that. Barry, what's happening? I'm listening. Leon sent me one of these videos, so that's probably going to be part of the lineup. Philip, what's happening? Ignatz, what's happening? The black man is the original modern man. That is true. Jay and the original man. What's happening? Jim Rat? Eddie, what's happening? Dr. Ills, I swear we are reading each other's minds. I was and still am planning to do a live show on Sunday debunking the myth about whether men want to get married. Um, I think they do. We've been programmed to. And I think they do, but I don't think they want to get married under these conditions. I don't blame them. Michael L., what's going on? Tunnel Runner, what's up? Tunnel Runner with his reparations. Captain Obvious, what's happening? Yeah, rest in peace, little brother Kevin Samuels. Yeah, the Tommy Curry one. You missed it. It was pretty good one. It was long though, long as hell. Yeah, that's why when Dr. Marifa shows up, I know it's gonna be a long one. Pringles, what's going on? A Dusty Dance from Toronto, okay. Evidently, man, the Chinese folks up there do not like Chinese males do not like black males up in Canada. They say y'all taking all the women. I wonder if that's true. Black males, what's going on? Chance, what's happening? Big Mo, what's going on? Emmanuel, what's going on? Blood boiling, what's happening? Uh, PM, what's the word? J Mar, Skrilla, what's happening? The evil black male is Pookie and Ray Ray, but Jermaine gets blamed. Okay, Pookie and Ray Ray are not evil. They're not evil. Okay, they're created entities. And actually, half the stuff that Pookie and Ray Ray does is caused by white black females. Okay, most of the deaths and most of the men behind bars in prison today are behind some black woman. Dave Chow, what's going on? Kareem, Mr. Donnie Mack, share the light. What's happening? Atlanta's the safest city in America. I don't think so. John Smith, what's up? Age of Machines, what's happening? Uh, there's Dr. Thunder to his link to his concert. Miriam, what's going on? And last one, okay, okay, Big Mo's bringing up the rear. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Go back in my history. The first one was a short somebody sent me with when our little resident cutie pie, Shay Charday. Okay, she's the cutest little thing. Um, Shay Charday, when she was actually, she's been on a rant about Michelle Obama. Okay, she really has, and I don't blame her. All right, let me know if you guys can see this. Okay, before we get started, 'cause I know YouTube trips. I mean, YouTube, but uh, I know that StreamYard trips. So please let me know if you can see it. Got a one. All right, we got a one. So unmute it, cause this is cause I wasn't gonna do anything, but she got me started.
Weird to me. It's like you're married. You are married with kids. Why don't you sit here? You got 26% of black women don't know how to marry. Why don't you sit up there and teach them how to have a successful marriage? Because y'all know that having kids born in marriages where the daddy and the mom is there, that is the best chance that that child has of succeeding. That's the best chance that black family has of succeeding. So why are you sitting up there and pushing BS? Why don't you sit up there and teach these ladies how to be wives? That would be more. Why don't you tell your mentees, you know what? I see you. I see you still have a beautiful life, but I also see that you want a relationship. Let me help you. Don't sit there and try to convince them to be happy. And then now 3-4 decades later, they got to go on a podcast and talk about how they're grieving because they never found love. Why don't you teach them how to find love? That's the stuff that's so annoying to me. It's like they're recycling the same stupid talking points. It's dumb. It's dumb. Oh, it's so annoying. Sitting up there married to the most powerful man talking about, oh, well, you know, you don't have to be married and have kids to be happy. All these elite women out there, like some of y'all said, Beyonce.
That's what got it started, right? Is because she's 100% right. I've been saying that for years. I've been saying that when I first saw Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. This was in 2007, okay, when he was running, and she was in Iowa talking to a whole bunch of white ladies, and she was low key dissing Barack Obama back then. And I was saying typical black woman, even though I love Michelle because she's a gynocrat, but I love her. Okay, I love Barack. Okay, and I love what they did together. But Michelle Obama has been on this bullshit, man, from the very beginning since I knew her. Okay, she has not changed, and the white women were getting on her ass. They say, "I said you're married to you're a first lady, married to a president. You cannot present yourself like that. You can't talk about him like that." And guess what? She still did, and she still is. So I thought once they got away from Washington D.C., he was out of office. She wasn't in the spotlight anymore. She kind of calmed down and kind of get into herself and go live her life. Right? She's only gotten worse. So what Shay Sharday is saying about um, how they feel about marriage and how they feel about their men, that's embedded into the culture. In fact, I got one recorded. I got to put up on my Black Pill Gnostic page using this particular video and talk about a lot of this bullshit is embedded into the culture. Okay, you're not going to get it out. 'Cause I wasn't a ramble. It was a ramble. But the thing is, at this point, man, at my age, man, I'm ready to throw in the towel, man. Forget it. You can't change this. Okay, you're not going to change this. Because I constantly get, the women I can understand. Okay, the women I can understand. The women, of course, they want what they want, right? But I'm getting tired of the freaking guys coming to me saying that black men have to be better, and if we were better, we could change this whole culture. And I say that's 100% bullshit. Okay, you can't change it. Okay, it's too embedded. We haven't been able to change it in 150 years. What do you think? I think a few black men gonna rise up and change it now, but all the other stuff that we have to deal with. Okay, impossible. Okay, impossible. Got another one coming. Talk about defeating the white man. The Sergeant Willie Pete keeps talking about, but that one I said I cannot put on YouTube. I have to put that on Rumble. Okay. Um, so the next one is something that Leon sent me. A Big Trick sent me. Okay. In on Twitter, and it's Tommy Curry giving an interview talking about the unfair scrutiny that black men face every day from the media. Right. Be better because it's right now for the community. Well, the thing is, be better for yourself. Okay, I understand that, but thing is, I'm sure you hear this all the time, Doc. That's why Barack Obama is the exception that proves the rule. Okay, it doesn't matter what you do. Okay, you're not gonna change this culture. Don't matter what you do. Stop trying to jump on black men about trying to be better. The thing is, no individual man, group of men can actually be better without the whole society pulling its weight. I have never seen it any place in the entire world where a group of black men can actually be, a whole segment of black men can be better without the whole society pulling its weight. It's impossible. Okay. Look at the Chinese. The Chinese, or that are underneath a dictatorial society. You cannot be done without the whole society pulling its weight. Germany had to do that in the 1800s. Okay, they had to do that. It takes a whole society. It takes a whole society to raise a strong group of black men. Okay, it does. Just pulling up by your bootstraps does not work. It's never worked anywhere. Okay, doesn't work. Black men are the only race of men that built two nations, in one in this country, one in our own black business districts out of slavery, and that were in counties all over the year. And the thing is, even that was only a small group of people. Those little pockets that you saw were a small group of people, and guess what? The whole society came together and destroyed it. It was a small group of people. And you basically saying we built this nation is inaccurate. It takes a whole society to build a nation. Okay, you didn't conquer the land. You didn't drive the Indians off the land. You couldn't do that. Okay, you're a part of a system. It takes a whole system to build a nation. You can't. Individual people cannot do it. If you want to, if you got something to prove me wrong, please do. Please do. Anyhow, let's get to this. See, there you guys go with that bullshit, okay? The little pockets we call successful black entities, right? Okay. Number one, that was help funded by white people. Okay, white people helped fund that. You didn't do it all by yourself. There's no way you could do it all by yourself. The only way, the thing is, you're integrated into a society. You cannot bring in the raw materials and all the other kind of stuff that you need to build a modern society. Okay, you have to be integrated into the society. You can't do it by yourself. There's no way black men could have done any of this stuff by themselves. It's impossible to do it. The United States could not be built by itself. It had to have a whole bunch of money and supplies and resources from Europe to do it. It's impossible. I don't know where you guys get. I don't know where you guys get this reading history that a certain group of people can raise themselves up, in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't work that way. If we could have done that, we could have done it on our own continent. How come we didn't do it on our own continent? Because that was possible. You need to, but guess who? Guess who controls? Everybody says we need to set up our own private boys' school system. Where are you gonna get the money? Number one, and plus your whole society has to come together to do it. You can't do it individually. All right, everybody says what we need. What we need and what's being done are two different things. Okay, the world does not run on should. The world does not run on should. Okay, if that was the case, then every place in the world that runs their own country could do it by themselves. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Wagner preludes Wakanda. Okay, here we go, Turtle Bitcoin. Here we go with the bullshit. Okay, we got jokes today. Anyway, this is Tommy Curry. This is something that Big Trick sent me, and this is the second piece that I got sent. Okay, it's about and a lot of stuff that he says we have been saying. Okay, a lot of stuff because the black manosphere has been putting this stuff out front. Okay, a lot of people like Tommy Curry, who's an academic. Okay, that gives them latitude to actually say the truth. Okay. No, it needs the black community needs to be ripped up from its bowels, from its foundation, and be rebuilt. Okay. The natives were of this land also after slavery. Black men had all the skills and trades, while most had status. Where do we get the skills and trades, sir? Where do we get the skills and trade? Okay. So let me ask you this, Lightbringer. Okay. If that is the case, how come all those skills and trades and stuff like that weren't exhibited on the continent where we came from, where there's way more black men and we run our own countries? Okay. Why is that? Why is that? You have to either if you're going to ask that question, if you really want to know that question, because we talked about that for about an hour. Okay, go to my Patreon, pay the $3 and listen to the video. Okay, I'm not going to answer it here. If you guys want cheap geopolitical information, pay the $3. Go to my Patreon. I have 6 hours of that shit. Okay. Listen to the last 3 hours. We actually talked about Traore for like an hour and a half. What I'm saying is, were we the vital factor of building America? Yes. Okay. Yes, we were. But the thing is, we didn't. The thing is, it's an integrated society. It's an integrated society. Everybody's ancestor helped make the country what it is. Okay, we did not build the machines. Okay, we didn't have the ability to actually build the machines and put these technologies to work. Okay, it takes a whole integrated society to actually do that. Anyway, let's start this, okay? Because y'all get ready to make me fucking mad, okay? Because I've done too much work on this shit. If you guys really believe that, put your shit together, okay? Put the stuff together, put it in a detailed form, show your documents. Show your freaking documents and show your proof, okay? And then we can sit down and talk about it. Not what people told you. Anyway.
Stop letting algorithms decide your news. Get uncensored.
We're not just the number one source, but the only source for information about black men or black males, that is the internet. And I wanted to ask, right, what are the dangers of relying on content creators instead of experts or those with lived experience to understand the conditions influencing black male behavior in America?
Oh man, that's a fantastic question. Being a black male puts you in the unfortunate position of often gaining unwanted and unjustifiable attention from media sources. You know, Newton said that anytime we try to change the image that America has of the black male to something positive, you'll of course be hated. Now, the experts on black men, we have to be careful how we use that word, but the people who are trying to study black males at a very serious level, who are working with black men, who are interacting with young black boys, who are not using deficit models to talk about them being pathological or them being prone to violence, those people are going to have vastly different views than what you get, say, from a blog or from everyday internet sources or even internet pundits. There are really two framings that we can kind of point to in general. The first one looks at black men very much as misogynist, violent, aspiring patriarchs who utilize rape, abuse, etc.
And that's not the internet, okay? That's not social media. That is mainstream media. They've been saying that for 100 years, okay? That's not social media.
To gain power. Now, this kind of thinking was popularized during the 1970s and 80s when white feminists, and I want to emphasize that.
And there were no social media back then with white feminists, okay?
That white feminists start analyzing the potential threat that black men had once they were integrated into American society. So you had people like Shulamit Firestone, Susan Brown.
All right, Lightbringer. If you keep putting up that bullshit, I'm gonna block you, man. I don't want to hear that shit today, okay? Don't post that shit don't post that bullshit on my channel, okay? I don't come to your channel posting what I think, okay? Don't post that over here. Unless you got detailed proof, okay? I mean detailed proof. If you ain't got no detailed proof, don't post that shit in my channel, okay? I'm asking nicely.
Brown, Miller, Williams, and Holmes in their book, The Second Assault, articulate a view of black men that said that black men are driven primarily by their sexuality and deviance, be by white men. The piece that's not often talked about is that those white women saw these black men utilizing rape as the way to imitate white male power. So they very much believed that black men were naturally more culturally or biologically prone to rape more than white men. And they're building this not from some kind of random racist idea, but this was the dominant science at the time. Looking at people like Minich Mamir's forcible patterns of rape, or patterns of forcible rape, they got the idea that, hey, look, black men are going to rape women in their race more than white men rape white women in their race. And because of that, we can say that there's something culturally deficient or deviant about black men and boys that other groups of men don't have to deal with. This kind of thinking was then extended into black feminist historiography. You see this kind of creeping in Michelle Wallace's work. You see this in Jean Noble's work. You see this in Patricia Hill Collins and Kimberly Crenshaw's work, where Kimberly Crenshaw is actually citing the second assault. So what happens now is that that's become the popular pop feminist, pop cultural commentary on black men and boys in the United States, and it runs rampant. I mean, you know, we've had, even in the UK, we've had people, you know, apply for positions that have utilized these kinds of tropes around black men. And when asked to justify them, people just say, oh, that's just a debate.
And that's in the UK. They're not even talking about, that's not even the United States, okay? That's in the UK. That same myth is following them over there, okay? They're in the UK. And they come from, 5 different regions. And because of the color of their skin, being black males, they're getting hit with the same thing.
It's not a debate when you're utilizing racist stereotypes to talk about a people and then say that that gets a default position. So, I mean, if you're looking at contemporary people who advocate this view of black males, you're thinking about the Conscious Lees, you're thinking about the FD signifiers, you're thinking about, you know, even Jared Ball, you know, kind of sidelining the fact that black men and boys are victims of child sexual, child physical abuse, or black men are victims of intimate partner violence. These pundits have to eliminate all the data that we've known for the last 40 or 50 years to kind of create this mythology of black men as being toxic and problematic. We don't see antecedents of violence influencing how black men are constructed, socialized, traumatized into having negative social interactions or negative, intimate relationships with women. So we see black boys, we may say, well, what if that black boy is being abused by his mother? Because we have tremendous rates of child maltreatment in the black community, much of which happens at the hands of black women. Some of it happens in the hands of black men, but black boys in general have tremendous exposure to personal violence and abuse, during their early years. And we don't ask the fundamental question, well, how does that then affect how they see relationships, personal relationships, loving relationships with future?
Everybody has trauma except black men and black males. Okay, nobody else has trauma. Black males and black men cause trauma. They don't suffer from it.
Partners. We've never asked how the environment that black men and boys come from influences them over their life course into adulthood or into their teenager years. And we like to blame them for that. So these pundits like to concentrate on that. They like to say, hey, look at the numbers that say that black men disproportionately abuse black women. And then that's when the experts come in, like epidemiologists, public health scholars, social workers say, wait, well, this idea of patriarchy that you're working with, that men are abusing women for patriarchy, that doesn't fit the cultural context of black people. Because black men aren't just abusers, they're also abused. Black men are not just dominating the home because the black home was not constructed as an entity of male domination.
Exactly, it was not, never was. Okay, black men never had that kind of power.
It was for the white race. So then how do you just translate this idea of male domination in the home among white people to mean the same thing as male domination in the home for black people? See, there's a cultural gap there. But these pundits don't have to attend to any of the culturally relevant and culturally specific antecedents of black violence within our communities or within our homes. They just repeat the dominant idea that they know flies with pretty much white liberal thinking,
yes,
which is patriarchy, sexism, and misogyny.
Yes.
So by not listening to the experts, what we have is this deliberate misrepresentation.
Say it again, black man. Deliberate misrepresentation. Deliberate. They're finally saying it out loud. It's not accidental. It's deliberate.
On social media, that fits a very specific, politic. I mean, the people making these commentaries are self-avowed black feminists and liberals. They believe that black men should be chastised anytime they don't fall in line with liberal thinking.
Yes.
God forbid black men say the Democratic Party or liberal party platform.
Say it again, black men.
Doesn't benefit them. Somehow they want to be right-wing conservatives.
Say it again, black man. Say it again, black man. Say that shit again.
There's all kinds of things that black men are held accountable for that flies within popular media and the popular imagination that really just can't be shown within the research.
Exactly. It can't be shown within the research. Exactly.
If we were going on a strictly research basis, right? So we're looking at black male attitudes. We would find that black men are extremely progressive on issues of childcare, gender equality, economic inequality. They're very akin to women's issues on abortion. They're very sensitive to linked fate or the close relationship that black men and women's political, heritage and legacies have to each other, that we benefit and lift each other up. That's what the research shows. But if you go off social media, you would think that every black man's a rapist, compensating for his inability to be a white man and ultimately violent from the womb. And it's this difference, right? It's this difference in how we speak about black men, or what our starting point is speaking about black men really are. I think this most recently, this was kind of shown with the New York Times release of Howard University.
And that is not social media, okay? New York Times. When was the last time I heard basically that New York Times is mainstream media? I never heard that it was social media or social media pundits, okay? Has nothing to do with social media. Social media is the only place where black men can actually speak out and actually get a semblance of the truth out. Okay, a semblance of the truth out. Okay, and we get beat up for that. My whole channel was basically blocked and blacklisted because I will not bend to this bullshit. Okay, I won't. I refuse to. When I first got started, man, YouTube was taking half my subscribers. Okay, half my subscribers every month. And I didn't have but 200 or 300. They were actually all the gains I would used to make. They would take half of them. They've been doing that my whole time I've been on YouTube. The whole time I've been on YouTube, they've been doing this crap because I will not bend. Okay, I won't bend.
Only 19% of black men were on campus at HBCU. For anybody that studies black men, this isn't surprising whatsoever. But what ended up happening was you had this kind of condemnation of black men. So anytime there's a disparity where black men are doing worse than another group, it doesn't become because of some kind of institutional racism or discrimination, some barriers that are preventing black men from succeed or from success. No, there's something wrong with the mind culture of black men. So
Yeah, there's something wrong with black men. Basically, what he's trying to say, what we always say, right? What's wrong? Okay.
I'm done. I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
Things wrong. It's always Jermaine's fault.
don't believe they could, or as Tory said, black men don't believe they could succeed in college. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense, right? Black men have fought historically to be in college. They fought for higher education. The issue is the barriers. The issue is whether or not, because of high levels of discrimination, and this is what Chetty study showed a couple of years ago, even black men with college degrees that work hard, that are born into the middle class, end up falling to the lower classes, right? Why? Because the high rates of job discrimination, what we call in black male studies, the anti-black misandry, the negative conceptualizations of black men, even when they're educated, to be associated with criminality or to be even treated as if they have a criminal record, decreases the ability of them to earn the same thing that their white male or white female counterparts earn in those contexts. So these pundits don't attend to that specificity. They just attend to, well, this is my view of black men. This is the view that gets me likes. So we'll say all black men are deficit, deviant, and ultimately can be despised.
And basically, the biggest thing is it's not just white women and white men. We know that from the very beginning, right? It's white men and white women. Okay, that's just a given. Okay, what we don't expect, what we can't fight, is your own women doing the same shit, and that's the problem. That's where we're gonna get into the next one. Okay, and this is something that I dealt with many years ago, right? Okay, the same shit. Even though I've debunked this particular crap, was 8-9 years ago. Okay, and and given books and shown slides and all kind of stuff on this stuff, right? But the thing is, it still persists, right? Black women did not kick black men out of the home. Okay, even though the kicking out of the home is a euphemism, okay? Did they actually just, throw his stuff out onto the stoop and boot him out? No, okay? It's a euphemism. But they made a choice to take welfare and state aid over a black man's ability to earn, okay? They did. They made a choice, okay? And so this particular video that was sent to me, okay, I wouldn't have done it except it lines up with the other two, with this freaking myth that keeps circulating, even though it's been disproven over and over and over and over again. And you got all kinds of women that are PhDs and scholars in history and black studies and all the kind of crap that could disprove this in a heartbeat, but they won't. But they won't. Even if they know the truth, they won't. Because they love to perpetuate this freaking myth and this lie. That's why so many black women are in HR today. Yep. But the thing is that at this point, when I do the video, I'm going to put it up later on today. It talked about black men. In my opinion, what black men need to do, let them have it. Okay. You're not going to change their mind. Stop trying to prove your manhood through what these chicks say. Just let them have it, okay? If they say that you're the worst man on the planet, and in their opinion, let them have it. Stop trying to prove these chicks wrong, okay? Free yourself, okay? You know what, baby? If that's the way you feel about me, you got it, okay? Go find your man and go be happy, because I'm out. Black men just to say, you know what? Baby, you got it. I ain't no good. I ain't shit, okay? I ain't been shit. I ain't never gonna be shit. Then I'll give you that. Granted, I'm out, okay? Go find your man. Go find your man. Leave me completely alone. Go find your man, the man that's gonna do you right, because it ain't gonna be me. Go find him. We need to do that. Stop trying to prove your manhood through these chicks, okay? Because they're not going to change. Even if the truth is evident, they're not going to change, okay? And this is another one that's evident of it. This is sent to me, okay? It's not even L. I mean, we shouldn't even care about their L's. If they don't want to take an L, good on them. This ain't a competition, man. Unless you got, all they doing is keeping you guys miserable, dejected and miserable, and not feeling good about yourself. Then black women will never have you feeling good about yourself. Never. Okay. Michelle Obama. That's why I keep using her. Okay. She should be the proudest woman on the planet. Okay. Her and her husband made history, global history. Any other woman would be worshiping the ground that that man walks on, whether she loved him or not. You would think that he is, he's some deadbeat dad that's a failure. If you listen to her. Anyway, let's go ahead and play this. This is like I said, this is Lady Boulay. I've heard her before. Okay, she's an old school gynocrat, but not in a good way. Okay, not in a good way. Old school gynocrat. I said black women do not kick black men out of the home. Okay, even though we've debunked that many, many times. Okay. UK Arsenal. I don't even know why that kind of talk goes on in the UK. You guys are not. I was telling Dr. Marifa last night. You guys are not black. Okay. You guys know where you came from. You guys know what tribe you came from. Okay. You guys come from countries that are ruled by black people. Okay. You're not black Americans. Okay. I don't know why they put that crap on you. Say 3 years ago today, the Godfather departed this earthly realm. Rest in peace. Yes, sir. He did, man. I miss him. When he died, it felt like I lost a part of my family when he died. Okay, I really did. It really hit me like I lost a brother. It really did. That's how close I felt to Kevin. Okay, it felt like I lost a little brother when he died. It really did. So sometimes I don't even like thinking about it, man, because I well up because it really hurt when he died because he was just, how you're proud of your little brother and he's just starting to get his success. You want him to do great things and all of a sudden he's cut short. That's why I felt. Anyway, let's get busy.
Subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Okay, are you ready for the question? Did black women kick black men out of the home? This is a question that has been raging since I first came to YouTube. It was all the rage when I first came on here. Black men in the manosphere again claiming that the black family was destroyed because black women kicked black men out of the home. So I got this comment from Daniel Watson yesterday when I posted the video about why black people fail for integration. It is the question that I don't think has ever been adequately.
It had why black people fell for integration. Okay, it wasn't a choice. This is why some women, some people that's supposed to be educated are not educated. You have no choice. There's three ways to get rid of an unwanted population, right? Okay, deportation, which is probably the easiest way, probably the best way. Okay, integration, okay, which or assimilation, which the Native Americans had to go through in America. Okay, they got assimilated into whiteness. Okay, and the third one is you don't want to talk about. Okay, which is elimination, and they did think about it. Victory God, do you want to try my patience today or what? You want to try my patience today because I did 6 hours on a stream last night. I'm doing this one, okay? And if you want to try my patience, you can go ahead and try it because I will boot you. I'm not playing today, all right? I'm asking you nicely.
eloquently answered, although people have tried, but so much passion and so much anger seems to be centered around this question that, we don't get a lot of clarity. So this is what Daniel Watson said. Ms. Boulay, there was a person, agent, in the Black manosphere on social media that claims Black females back in the 60s and 70s wanted to replace Black men with the government by taking the public welfare.
I'm that person. They did. That's very true. They said so. Okay, they did say so. We'll get to that.
The deal that had the man out of the house statute in the law. His source is the Moynihan report or Moynihan theses.
No, it's not the source. The source comes from it actually comes from I forget what the book's name is. It's actually a book about the child support when they actually talk about the welfare system, right? In other words, the AFDC, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, right? Okay, or FDC, Families with Dependent Children, was actually a Social Security law. Okay, in other words, what FDR said is that women that were actually widows were supposed to get their husband's Social Security, right? But things they weren't old enough. So what they did was give them aid, okay, aid to dependent children, okay, aid to the white women that were actually where husbands had died, right? But during the Depression, so many white men left the family to find work and never came back. Okay, they allowed for what? For abandonment. Okay, that was in the 30s. Black women did not get AFDC until the 60s, and they had to fight for it because in the book she was saying that for the most part, black women were considered part of the workforce. You had about 10 states, mostly southern, that said that black women could not get welfare because they could work. Black women were not eligible for welfare or any kind of aid because they could work. So government aid was not extended to black women because they were part of the labor force, just like the black men were. They had to fight for it, and they did not get it until civil rights. Okay, I think it was either the very late 50s or the early 60s. I think it was 1960 or 61, right? We actually documented that. And the man in the house rule came from where? It actually came from the AFDC statute that you had to either be one where the husband died, or two where the husband abandoned you. In fact, there was a court case, I think it was in Texas, where the judge refused to give black women AFDC unless they could actually come up with two things: either an exhaustive search that husband could not be found, or have a death certificate of that said husband. Right? It could only have to be either abandoned or the husband had to be dead. They did not change that until the man in the house rule in 1968, because a white woman in North Carolina sued the federal government about AFDC because she had not a husband but a boyfriend that lived with her, part-time with her, a boyfriend. And even now, there's quasi rules about the man in the house, okay? There's quasi rules, but the thing is, it was not struck down by black people. It was actually struck down by white women. White women had to adhere to the same rule, okay? The same rule. I love the scene from Eve's Bayou where Samuel L. Jackson's character tells his concerned daughter that the women of his family are always mad. His wife, his mother, and sister, yeah. Respectfully, my grandfather told me you barely had any black women that stayed home because you couldn't afford them to do so. Yeah. Well, the thing is, most of these people that say this shit have not read a goddamn thing, and that's the problem. Okay.
And according to some in the Black manosphere, is what led to the destruction of the Black family community.
The Black manosphere didn't come up with that. That was said well before the Black manosphere. Okay. The black manosphere did not say that, okay? Keep blaming that shit on the black man. Black manifest never said that. Was said in the 70s. Okay, they said that about welfare in the 60s and 70s. Okay, black manifest did not come up with that shit. Even black women, black female scholars say the same shit. Okay,
not social integration. According to what you've seen in the 60s and 70s, is this true? I really thank Daniel Watson for this question. He comments from time to time on my videos, and his responses are always thought-provoking. And since he asked me, according to what I've seen, is it true? I'm going to share my response with you. So I responded, no, those men are losers. The men in the black manosphere primarily are losers, and this is my opinion. There is no welfare check or government program that would put more money into a house than a working man.
that's bullshit. That is bullshit. That is bullshit because a lot of your men, a lot of the jobs were not consistent. That's bullshit. A lot of your jobs did not pay the man enough to take care of family. That is bullshit. Okay, I don't know where she get that from.
In the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, men that wanted to stay with their families and provide for them did so. Thank you for commenting. Now that's it in a nutshell. There
That is not true. That ain't true. That is not true.
is no government program that's going to give a woman, a family, more money than a working man.
That's not true. That is not true. White men say the exact same thing. Okay, now that's where I got it from. Okay, a black woman, the black woman on welfare and benefits and stuff like that. The last count was she gets right around kind of food stamps, housing, supplemental welfare, stuff like that. A woman in the a woman that has kids, if she got 2 or 3 kids, she gets approximately $55,000 in benefits. Okay, the median wage for a black man is 41,000. Okay, she's going to get $15,000 more in benefits than she would do if she married that man. Okay,
Man, the end. But I'm going to say some more. And he replied, thank you for the clarification. You are welcome. This is Daniel Patrick Moynihan. He was a politician, a diplomat, and a social scientist who worked in colleges and lectured in colleges before he joined the government. He was a senator from New York from 1977 until 2001. This is what's interesting to know about Daniel Patrick Moynihan also. He was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1927. That's 6 years after the destruction of Black Wall Street. Now, in all of his writings, I haven't been able to uncover one word that he said.
that doesn't mean he was raised in New York. Okay, I don't care where he's born. He's raised in New York, near Harlem.
About what was done to that thriving black community, for which those people have not received a dime of reparations for the
Deflection.
destruction of their families, their businesses, and their community. But he's got time to talk about the black family in the 1960s and blame all of the problems somewhere else besides what has been done to black people in this country. So to put it in a nutshell, Moynihan said that the rise in black single mother families was caused not by a lack of jobs, but by a destructive vein in ghetto culture, which could be traced to slavery time and continued discrimination in the American South under Jim Crow. Well, he got it partly right. So here he throws out the word ghetto. So it's not a problem that
Where do you get the word ghetto culture? You got it from Clark. Okay, but the thing is, you don't study enough.
you have discriminated against black people in the job market. In some cases, black people couldn't even go and apply for jobs, but it's about a ghetto culture. Well, how did that ghetto culture come about? Trace back to slavery time. Okay, you really
He did say that. He said that if you read the piece, he did say that. Okay, he did say that. If you read Clark's book, Dark Ghetto, they do say that, but things you don't read. But this is what's perpetuated.
want to go there? You really want to go there and talk about slavery time when black people were robbed and abused, disenfranchised? I mean, we don't even want to go there, but this is how they're able to cover up the things that they've done.
He always said that. Okay, he always said that. He said that black people need, especially black men, need to be repaired. Okay, he always said that. But these are people that don't actually read the document.
Your problem is not that you don't have a job. It's just that you have a ghetto culture, a culture that was
He didn't say. Well, he said that's partly right. Okay.
cultivated in slavery. So he's right about that. The report concluded that the high rate of families headed by single mothers would greatly hinder progress of blacks towards economic and political equality. So you notice he hasn't said anything about the school to prison pipeline. That hasn't been a hindrance.
The school to prison pipeline occurred in the 80s, okay? In 83, 84, okay? He wrote the document in 65. Like I said, this is kind of misinformation that keeps getting passed around. Same kind of information that keeps getting passed around over and over and over again, okay? I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to show you, because I actually did a video on this, revisiting the Moynihan report, okay, and why he actually talked about this. And even now, what Trump is doing is going back to what Moynihan did back in 1965. A lot of what Trump is doing right now is going back to what Moynihan tried to do in 65. Before the black women, the feminists, and the white liberals got a hold of it and destroyed this what was actually then a progressive movement for black men. Okay.
It's to black people. Job discrimination hasn't been a hindrance to black people.
Ghetto culture ghetto is actually a Jewish word, okay, a German Jewish word. Ghettos were actually slums that are coming out of Russia and Eastern Europe, okay, where they pushed the Jews into. That's where ghetto culture comes from. It's not a Scottish thing, okay. I don't know where you guys get this shit from.
The whole stalking of black men, criminalizing black boys, none of that has been a problem. It's just the high rate of families headed by single mothers. Okay? So let's get to the heart of it. Households headed by single mothers. The mothers have kicked the man out of the home to get a welfare check.
They had to get a welfare check back then. That had to be done, okay? Even now, okay, it's very difficult to get welfare as a woman with kids and the husband is in the home. To me, as long as I've been alive, I've never heard of a woman getting welfare while her husband's in the home. I have not seen it, not once. Not once. That a woman can get Section 8 and welfare and the husband be in the home. Maybe somebody else has seen it. I can be proven wrong. I haven't seen it. This is 2025. I still have not seen that shit. Where you can actually go down to the welfare office and apply for welfare and have a husband at home with you. Maybe it's widespread and I haven't seen it, okay?
I repeat myself for emphasis. There is no welfare check or government assistance program that will put more money into a home than a working man.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. You can emphasize it all you want. Thing is, it's bullshit. Okay, we've proven that.
So that brings us back to job discrimination, does it not? And then I'm going to ask the real hard question that these men probably don't want to answer. And that is, was there ever a man in the home in the first place? Now, these men that are talking about the single moms all the time know the research that says black men, when they are involved in their children's lives, make the best fathers. They're better fathers.
And see, now you're conflating two different things, right? Okay, before 1960, 90% of black men were married. Okay, 90% of black men were married. 90%. Basically the single parent homes were 8%, okay? Up until the 1960s. 8%. Out of wedlock births were right around the same, okay? About 8%. That shit exploded in the 60s. Why? Why? Anyway, a little bit more and then I'll actually get to my video.
Than all of the other men. So if you are the best father, why are you allowing somebody to take you out of your child's home? And the answer to that is that they are not.
It's called take you out. Basically, yes, they are. Okay. let me riddle me this, miss, okay? Even when you are married to that man, even when you do live with that man, okay? Okay, number one, why are you having babies out of wedlock? Number one, okay? Number two, when you are married, okay, and you do marry the baby's father, and you do have a family, why is 80%? Why is the divorce rate 80%? Why is the divorce rate 80%? Why does the average black marriage today only last 5 years? If that is the case, okay? Is that the man leaving the home voluntarily, or is that the woman booting him out of the house, okay? When you get a divorce, you get kicked out of the house, last I heard. I don't remember when you get divorced and her politely saying, okay, you can, you have the option to stay here with your kids or leave. But the thing is, guess what? That's what Tommy Curry was saying, right? Okay.
I'm done. I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
Thing is, to me, this is so lowbrow and so anti-intellectual that I normally wouldn't deal with it. But the thing is, it fits with the other two parts that are actually shown. Okay, but she talked about the Moynihan report. Okay, and she getting into all these semantics. Let's get into my last part because I had to go back and actually did this a few years ago, but I actually had to go back and find it. Okay. I should play my opening. I think I'll play my opening because I haven't played it in a long time. Somebody asked me to actually play it, right? Okay. So I'm going to actually play the opening, then we'll skip to the part of when I start talking about the Moynihan and Moynihan scissors, okay? Let me know if you guys can see this. I said we're not listening to Miss Roke, and this is definitely Fantasy Island. Mr. Rourke, okay? Fantasy Island. I mean, I've done videos talking about what they call the welfare cliff and how much a man has to earn before he actually can overcome the so-called welfare cliff. Okay, was it 40% of black men earn less than $30,000 a year, which is well below the welfare cliff. Can you guys see this? Give me one if you can see it before I start playing. This will be the BJ Moore with a smooth voice. Yeah, okay.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
Folks, this is something I was going to do earlier. This is going to be on the Moynihan scissors. I had promised to do this like last week, but I'm getting to it this week. So we're going to start with the charts from the original charts. This comes from the original Moynihan report, the unemployment versus welfare, and this is the scissors. This is where the divergence of non-white or black male unemployment went down, while new welfare cases from non-white women went up. Well, Moynihan said that it kind of disturbed him because he's from the Department of Labor and he's trying to figure out how he can actually, number one, help the black family or employ black men, but also bring welfare down, bring out of wedlock births, divorces, abandonment, as they put it down, in a black family down, right? By giving black men jobs. It was actually predicated on doing this, bringing black male unemployment down, but also bringing this down. And when it didn't happen according to the old rules, he was confused. Now it's kind of hard to see it this way because of the way it was drawn. But if you see the next slide, this one. See this one, this slide here, it actually gives you a better picture. Like if you can actually see black or non-white male unemployment will actually be in sync with the welfare cases. Not quite as in sync as well, but you can actually see it. This is from 1948, right after World War II. In fact, what Moynihan was saying is that black male unemployment went up. It also tracked welfare cases. What he couldn't understand was this, the divergence. We saw the divergence in what, we actually see the divergence start in 1961-62, right? You can clearly see the crossover in 1963. What he couldn't understand is why. And that's where we're going to start. We're going to get into why this divergence happened. Because on the surface, it doesn't make sense. You have years and years and years of this happening where they align, and all of a sudden you get to here and it diverges. Crossover point. That means something happened right in this area within these couple of years. There's a reason why these two things diverge. Why this went up and this went down. Doesn't make sense, right? So we're going to actually investigate why that is. Actually, an extension of what we're talking about. This is something that was actually dug up by Art of IBMOR. And actually, this is on Wikipedia. This is already readily available. Anybody can actually look this up. And this actually goes along with the same time period that we just looked at as far as Moynihan scissors, right? And what I'm going to read after this comes from a book about child support. The lady that she helped Bill Clinton reform child support in 1996. And she goes through a whole history of it. Part of the book actually goes through what happened in this time period. Talking about AFDC. The program was created under the name Aid to the Dependent Children, ADC, by the Social Security Act of 1935. As part of the New Deal, it was created as a means-tested entitlement which subsidized the income of families where fathers were deceased, absent, or unable to work. It provided a direct payment of $18 a month per child for one child, $12 a month for a second child. In 1964, the average payment was about $420 a month. Sounds about right. Actually, a lot of money for 1994, $420 a month. Okay. The federal government required the contributions from individual states and authorized state discretion to determine who received aid. In that amount, ADC was primarily created for white single mothers who were expected not to work. Black mothers who had always been in the labor force were not considered eligible to receive benefit. In 1961, a change in the law permitted states to extend benefits to families where the father was unemployed, a measure which 25 states eventually adopted. The words families with were added to the name in 1962, partly due to the concern that the program's rules discouraged marriage. Yeah, that was partly because there's a lot of states that had the man in the house rule. Most states did. The civil rights movement and efforts of the National Welfare Rights Organization in the 1960s expanded the scope of welfare entitlements to include black women. See that? In 1961, the change, civil rights. In the 1960s, it basically expanded it to black women. The welfare rolls, racial demographics changed drastically. Look at that, folks. Can't make that shit up. The majority of welfare recipients still remain white, and most black female recipients continue to work. Starting in 1962, the Department of Health and Human Services allowed state-specific exemptions as long as the change was in the spirit of AFDC in order to allow some experimentation. By 1996, spending was $24 billion a year when adjusted for inflation. The highest spending was in 1976, which exceeded 1996 spending by about 8%. You actually look at the graph. Look at that graph. In 1967, the federal government began requiring states to establish the paternity of children eligible for the program and was extended benefits to unemployed male parents with a work history. So even though they allowed it, the man in the house rule was still in effect. You know, the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, two different things. But look at Moynihan scissors. That's what we're talking about. Starting in 1962, 1961, 1962. Go back to the chart with Moynihan scissors. That's when you saw the change. That's when the racial demographics changed drastically. Okay, because they actually were they were discriminating against black women. And when they stopped, guess what black women did? Did they go stay with their husbands? No. What did they do? They left. That's what they're trying to say. They left. They bombed their marriages. Like Kevin says, they wrecked their own homes. That's like a Moynihan said there's something going on with the black family. because they're not reacting the same way that others have reacted. In other words, you give them welfare instead of a supplement what their husband doesn't have. They do the opposite. They're taught to be independent of their husband, independent of their man. And that's exactly what they did. That is part of the culture. Peep game, y'all. Anyway, continuing. Coming from the book on child support by Ruth Gilly Kruger. Ruth Gilly Kruger. This is in connection to what we're talking about, the welfare program and the Moynihan Scissors. So she talks about the roots of not only child support but also welfare. The poor laws back in 1597. Parents of children or independent person, it has to maintain a child. But this is the antecedents of what we have now as far as welfare and child support. Okay, like we're saying, and it used to be states and local governments actually responsible for child support. Okay, but right after the Depression, the United States decentralized the structure into state and local governments responsible for child support. The system remained effective. The federal government became involved in providing cash grants for children in 1935. This is after during the Depression. This program, Aid to Dependent Children, evolved into Aid to Families with Dependent Children, AFDC, and that name is used throughout this paper. When Aid to Dependent Children program was established, few mothers worked outside the home. They do mean white mothers. You're going to see that later. The program was intended to support families where the husband was dead or disabled. When survivors insurance was added to the Social Security Act in 1939, it was expected that AFDC would gradually wither away. We always know that never happens. Skipping down, I remember this is a child support book. So we're going to focus on AFDC. I said the rising divorce rates of the 1960s and 70s were more consistent with long-term historical trends. Sherlin found no definitive reasons why the divorce rate roughly doubled between the early 1960s and the mid-70s. The reasons he cited are increasing economic independence of women, society-wide attitudinal shifts, and
the increased economic independence of women, okay? The increased economic independence of women. Say it again.
Possibly the relatively unfavorable labor market position of large numbers of young men from the baby boom generation. So people say that baby boomers had all the jobs. Okay, that's not true. Sherlin also reported that in the 1960s and 70s, a steady upward movement occurred in the age of marriage, along with a sharp increase in the number of unmarried couples living together and an increasing separation of marriage and childbearing. So contrary to popular belief, the rate at which unmarried women bear children has gone down for blacks and increased modestly for whites, except teenagers, since 1970. But the proportions of births occurring out of wedlock has increased for two reasons. The rate of childbearing has declined even faster for married women than for unmarried ones. It is more socially acceptable now for a single woman to bear a child without marrying the father. The technological changes in fertility actually boosted this kind of idea to come in, and mostly actually projected by the women. It wasn't really the men. People always blame it on the men. It was mostly the women first. Okay, the feminist movement heralded the movement of women into the labor force and erosion of gender-based division of labor at home and work. The rising educational level of women made them more competitive in the labor market. Furstenberg reviews the feminist and fatherhood literature and finds evidence of the declining involvement of men in families during the period from 1960 to 1980. This declining involvement led to weak parental attachment to children. With women in the workforce, more single-parent families, and an unfavorable labor market for young men in society was struggling to find ways to care for its children. All of these factors influenced the development of the child support policy. And remember, this is a child support book. Here's another one. Tradition and states' rights kept the primary focus of child support at the state level, but federal government exerted a steady growing interest in child support for children on AFDC. They wanted to get them off. Here's a good one. Congress considered civil penalties for desertion and non-support in 1947, but no legislation made it out of the judiciary. They didn't want to go after white men. Okay, in 1949, Tom Snead introduced H.R. 4057, designed to prevent federal program for aid to dependent children from abuse by able-bodied parents.
And for able-bodied parents, and that means men, right? Okay.
Who abandon their children. Such abuses have increased so rapidly in recent years that they are becoming a national curse and threatening this entire program. In other words, even back then, very difficult to get AFDC without what? Proving that the father either abandoned the family, couldn't be found, or what? They were dead. Remember, AFDC is designed for what? Women who whose husbands have either died or are disabled. Skipping down. In the 1930s, most children needed AFDC because of the death of their father. The majority of the growth was due to the composition of the caseload, and desertion and lack of marriage gradually become the primary reasons for families going AFDC.
Yeah. The primary reason for AFDC for white women back in the 1930s was what? Death and desertion. Okay. That's where the man in the house rule came from. It was death or desertion. You had to prove those two things before you could actually get welfare, federal welfare. Those two things had to be proven. That's where it came from. Even to today, even though it's not legally binding, they still use it. I don't know where she gets this shit from. Okay, the Black Manosphere did not say that the death of the family, okay, was because of welfare and the state. Okay, pro-blacks been saying that since the 70s. Okay, about integration, about welfare. I still get this crap. Okay. Well, integration with people talk about Black Wall Street and that kind of crap, man. Uh, before 1960, okay, over 80% of your black people were in poverty, actually below the poverty line. Okay, the what they call the Great Society pushed most of black people out of poverty. Okay, down to from 80% all the way down to below 20%. I think the poverty rate is like 17%. Well, amongst black people now. Okay, that shit used to be 80%. Used to be 80%. The book title, oh, I have to look it up. Okay, it's let me scroll back. Okay, it's Ruth Gilly Kruger, and it's I forget what the name of the book is. Okay, but Ruth Gilly Kruger, it's I forget the name of the book. Analyzing the development of American child support system. Okay, that's the name of the book. Okay, that's the name of this particular book. Anyway, we're over an hour. I just wanted to show you a thing about Moynihan scissors. Okay, in 1961, when the scissors actually happened, that's when black women got welfare. Okay, you cannot divide those two. Okay, when black women finally got welfare, they started leaving their men. That's when it happened. That's why this big jump in out of wedlock births, the big jump in divorces, the big jump in broken homes happened when they start giving black women welfare. Cannot escape that. And the thing is that it's not like the federal government came to black women and said that what? Okay, we're going to make you take welfare. That didn't happen. Okay. In fact, most states were against it. They said it that black women did not deserve welfare. Okay, and it didn't happen until 1961. Why? Because black women fought for that shit. Okay, they fought for it. The government didn't come down and force it on black women. It didn't. Okay, black women didn't have to leave the home. Black men just up and leave the home because welfare came. They didn't. If you wanted it, she had to go down to the office. She had to get rid of her man, go down to the office, and said, "I'm alone, and he abandoned me, or he died." Okay, to get welfare, it had to go down and lie to the agent, to the social worker, and fill out all them forms, sign all those affidavits to get welfare, right? And sometimes they were lying so hard. The father only lived maybe 6 blocks away from the mother. Still seeing his kids. Still seeing his kids. And still today, a lot of times, even though the man doesn't live with the mother, he's still involved with his children. He always has been. Always has been. Back then, the father lived a couple of miles away from the family. He's still in the same city. Still see his kids. But the thing is, she had to lie. To get welfare, she had to lie. Why? Because he wasn't earning enough. Even today. So really appreciate your coverage. When I speak to my HR family members, your vids help me see the cracks in their thinking. Gynocracy is real. Yes, yes, it is. Okay. I've done this before. I'm tired of doing it. You know, I'm really tired of doing it because I've already knocked holes in it. The stuff is there. The stuff is there in books. Anybody can read it. There's so many books on the Moynihan Report. Anybody can read this stuff. Okay. Nobody wants to read this stuff. They just want to go by what they believe. And what I really hate is you have very smart women with PhDs that still believe this crap instead of picking up a freaking book. You go through your 8 years of reading books, but you won't pick up any books to actually confirm what you believe. And a lot of women, and Doc is in here, both docs are in here, can tell you that a lot of people, a lot of black women that are academics, have read this stuff, they know what the truth is, but they still follow the company line, okay? They follow the company line because they do not want this stuff out. Because the way they get money from white women is to do what, okay?
I'm done. I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
On Jermaine, you don't get your money. And hen houses on TV and social media won't let them admit it. Not on just social media. We talk about in the freaking academies, man. Okay. Until recently, a lot of brothers speaking this truth would get fired from their positions if they're professors. Okay, you get fired if you preach this in high school. You would get fired for actually bringing this stuff out. It wasn't allowed to be spoken about, even though you had documents upon documents. That's how come Tommy Curry had to leave. Okay, he had to leave. Okay, they drove him out of the United States because of what he said. Even though he had documents upon documents upon documents, it was not part of the party line. Okay, that's why he had to kick his ass. Not kick his ass out. He had to voluntarily leave the United States. Okay, and guess what he walks back into when he goes into the UK? The same crap is following him. The same bullshit with the adolescents and Andrew Tate, right? And then guess what? Eventually it filters down to who? It's Jermaine. Okay. The white boys are going to pass this stuff all the way down to Jermaine. It's Jermaine that's violent. Jermaine that's stabbing his women. All this stuff is going to happen, okay? They're going to dump this stuff and put it on black men's shoulders with the help of black women. See, many never intended to have a man in the house, but needed the kids to get the housing and food stamps. A lot of women actually did. It used to be that black women were actually marrying men to get out of her mama's house, right? But the thing is, welfare gave her a way to get out of her mama's house without getting married. Okay. But the thing is, originally to get welfare, if you were a single mother had never been married, you couldn't get welfare. That didn't happen until 1971 or 72. Before that, you had to get married at least once and have a kid before you start getting welfare. And now after that, you can boot him out or whatever you needed to do. But the thing is, once you got married once and got rid of him, however you got rid of him, and then you could have other kids by other men. But the thing is, that's how you started getting welfare. You had to be married at least once. You push back for the Matrix is global. Of course it is. I don't blame them. But anyhow, I got 600 watching. Please hit my likes, okay? I always say I don't ask for money as a Gnostic. I am not allowed to ask for money, okay? But I am allowed to ask for likes, okay? If you can't give me money, give me a like. I mean, I've dug out this information. I've read these books. I've presented this stuff that nobody wanted you to hear. They still don't want you to hear it, right? Okay? Still to this day, they don't want you to hear this crap, okay? Last night, I was presenting a whole bunch of stuff that nobody else wants to hear, okay? On my Patreon, okay? Somebody keep asking me about Traore. If you want to hear about Traore, I did a 6-hour live stream last night with my patrons. If you go to the last 2 hours, and we talk about Traore almost exclusively about what's going on the continent with a international lawyer from Kenya. Okay, Dr. Marifa's from Kenya. Okay, he's an international lawyer specialized in economic affairs on the continent. Okay, we talked about Traore. Okay, I'm not going to talk about it here because on here it's going to be very unpopular. I don't want to get. I'm already in enough trouble with YouTube. I don't. That's why it's behind the wall and on Patreon. Okay. Want to hear about it? That's where I did it. It's a BS Moore. You don't know how many times I have a conversation with a chick with degrees still believes that black men are bad fathers and leave families. Okay. I mean, you know what, Charles? You know what, Charles? And Charles can tell you, since Charles is a cop, right? He's dealt with all classes, right? Every single class, from rich black women all the way down to women that can't even rub, homeless black women, right? They all believe the same shit. They all believe the same shit. One day, Michelle Obama's actually going to call Barack Obama a bad father. One day, it's going to slip out of her mouth. I believe it. One day she gonna get mad. She gonna say Barack Obama was never shit. She won't say it out loud. She kind of hints at it. But the thing is, one day she gonna say Barack Obama was never shit, even though he was president of the United States. It's gonna slip out of her mouth one day. Trust and believe. Anyhow, yes, it was. Okay, and the white women jumped all over her. Okay. Yeah, if you can't get 338 likes, if you can't give me $1, give me a like, okay? I ask for likes. I don't ask for money. So if this is valuable to you, because I get a whole lot of pushback by putting shit out like this, okay? That goes against the narrative. Okay, I could make more money reacting to black female fuckery and just putting it up there and ha and kikiing on it, because all your 100,000 YouTube channels and your 200,000 subscriber channels that get 40, 50,000 views, stuff like that. All they do is present a video, kaha and kiki, and they run all the way to the bank. Okay, I get banned and blacklisted for actually presenting this kind of stuff to you, right? So I don't ask for money. At least give me a like. At least say that you appreciate what I present to you. If you don't, guess what? I'm gonna stop doing it. Okay? Because trust and believe, I can make way more money on my Patreon, okay, with less work than I do here. I can make way more money on a Patreon with less work than I do here presenting this kind of stuff that I get hits for every day. So at the very least, you can actually like the video. At the very least, okay? Because 3 people asked me to present this information. I wasn't going to actually even do something today because I did 6 hours yesterday. But the thing is, the least you can do is give me a like on this freaking video because this is the kind of stuff that you asked for. All right? Lady Boulay, hold on. Let me go ahead and close out of this and go back wherever she is. Let's see, go back to history. All right, Lady Boulay. Okay, that's the one to Lady Boulay. See, find the one to Tommy Curry. Go ahead and give you that one too, since you guys are asking. That's the one to Tommy Curry. And the last one I'll give you is the one, even though I did it, is on my channel, which is Moynihan Scissors, okay? And Black Female Welfare. The video was actually like 30. I only did like maybe 12 minutes of it. It's actually a 30-minute video. And you can actually go look at that, okay? All right. That's all, okay? Hurricane Greg, appreciate you. Taco stand. Yeah. Like basically, I was telling Mr. Z, he's talking about ground turkey tacos. I said, if you put anything ground into your tacos, you've already failed, okay? We don't put ground meat in good tacos. Good tacos is chopped, okay? Whether it's chicken, pork, or beef, it's chopped, okay? Ain't no ground anything in there, okay? You grind up the meat, you failed. It says sisterhood culture extends from the whole house to the White House. Yeah, it does. It does. One day Michael Obama talks that BS. I'm officially done with black women. And she, she's taking it global because she was on Diary of a CEO with her brother, talking the same smack. I said, said you can't win, okay? You can't win and can't get out of the game. Jermaine cannot win, okay? Even Barack Obama. That's why I call him Dusty in Chief, okay? That's why I call him Dusty in Chief. Anyhow, y'all. And may the force be with you. Yeah, it was yesterday, right? In fact, I think I'm gonna kick back and watch some Andor because I'm really struggling to get into Sinners. I'm really struggling. People say, people rave about it, but I'm really struggling with it because I'm not feeling it. I say go pick a pair of scissors and call it Moynihan. I am so tired of it. The thing is, the proof is right. Every time I ask somebody talk about the Moynihan report, right, and they say they disagree with it, I said, okay, did you read it? It's not like it's like a 500-page book. It's a 65-page document. Most of it's charts. Did you read the thing? No. How you gonna comment on something that you never read? I don't have to read it. I actually read the whole document in a series of like 9 videos with supplementary details. Then you have to read it. I actually read it out loud on video. Okay, you can actually go through my videos of a Moynihan report and I'll actually read it out to you, line by line. I like Sinners almost because of the reaction from like Christie, like LOL colorism and mammyism. Um, the only thing that kind of pissed me off about Sinners is because the meanness that black women still exhibited toward their men. Okay, the meanness, even the mulatto chick, the actual meanness that they still projected toward men back then. And they say that black men were mean and cruel to their women. Man, all the shit that them black men were talking to those men, it's like yesterday. Okay, black women have never been nice to their men ever, 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 ever. Even on the plantation, they weren't nice to their men. Never have been. They didn't like you back then. They don't like you now. And so waiting on white and non-black women to love black men on TV. Um, Now that's been on TV. That's not unusual. Okay, it's not um, as obvious, but the thing is, it's been there. I mean, in the movies, it's been there. Basically, go back to guess who's coming to dinner in '65, I do believe. And I said the movie center is the same Egyptian flip to the end of days Christianity over. Okay, okay. I mean, they made her a hoodoo woman because she had to put the root on Michael B. Jordan's. That's how she got a baby out of him. See, the thing is, anyway, I don't even want to get into it. All this negative black stuff that keeps coming up. Okay, can't tell a horror. You can't be innocent in a horror movie, even if you're black. Okay, you have to have some kind of dysfunctional culture. The whole story is about dysfunctional black culture, down from one of the twins killing his father. Okay, the father beat on him, so he killed his father and buried him, and then they left for Chicago. And first thing when one of the twins comes back to pick up the cousin, is the father beating on you? You told Harpo to beat me. Never saying anything about the women whipping the kids. Okay, did your father beat on you? So I don't know what's going on with well, maybe Ryan Coogler is actually abused by his father or what. But the thing is, the whole thing they always ask about the father beating on the kids. The whole point. Okay, into where one of the twins actually killed the father and buried him because they were being beaten by the father. Yeah, you got some dirt on you in order to be what? Respected? Oh, in order to be respected. Okay. In the black household, you are 5 times more likely to be abused in a single mother home than in a single father home. Yep. I can attest to you. My mother swung the belt hell a lot more than my father ever did. Okay. So anyway, let me get out of here. So the movie centers, I am not feeling. Okay.
What can I say? Mamba out.